So last night my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill out night. After dinner she went to the den and was watching her programs while I flitted between watching the Spurs game, football/soccer, and doing some odds and ends that I had planned. Next thing I know she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff. At around midnight I went to check on her and seen she was out cold on the couch. I went to scoop her up when her watch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Haha, I can't do that, my name would knock 7 shades of shit out of me." I wondered what the fuck that was all about, so I pressed on it and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now I wouldn't say this guy's a close friend of mine, but he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years, drank with and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him Jacket Holder because when we got into scraps as teens he'd always be the guy holding the jackets while everyone else went for it. Right, so as I said, I pushed on the conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist and scroll up to the top, and as far as I can tell it's him that contacts her first, unless she's deleted. There's lots of flirting and winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night and when she's drunk she starts openly begging him for sex. I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying shit like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something, and the last one that fucking killed me, that she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll on her watch but couldn't find any other messages, and I don't know her phone passcode. I put her in her bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep, then got up for work about 5:30. When I went to get in my work van I just slumped down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it, so I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled to the top with Coke, and went on a walk down the railway line. We live beside a lot of woodland and a disused railway line that goes for miles, and I've walked about half the length of it. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a fucking troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You'd probably think there's a fire going from about a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her. I can't even bear to look at her after reading that shit. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air after reading her begging like that. Fucking yuck. I honestly want to ghost her, man. If I could I would never speak to her again. The whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" was the thing that really got me though, like who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go? I don't care if I'm being honest, I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested so much in her, not just as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much and thought her personality, and by extension my personality, reflected that of good people. To realize she's a backstabbing snake makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or a rapist or just a downright creep. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered, because you've took on board what they've said and invested time into a creep. God, I'm rambling nonsense, I apologize. I'm lucky in that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved to a retirement village and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die, but I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems etc. and wanted to see out their final days in peace, so when we do divorce my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here it went through my mind to get my mate, who's a locksmith, to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyways, as long as I'm about. Then after he's done, lock the front door and tell her to come out and look at something out the back. When she comes out, just run back in and lock the door behind me. That sounds childish as fuck, doesn't it? Seriously though, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm staring at a bottle right now and my life feels like it has been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here. There's also no doubt I wouldn't have caught wind of this at all, so I'll be seeing him very soon. Never mind holding jackets, he'll be holding his face. Have went to a friend's house to calm down. I threw the vodka away. She has been texting me asking where I am as my work van is still in the driveway. I text her saying there is a problem with the engine, so I got a lift into work. I'll make my move tonight. When my friend got back from his work at about 5 o'clock, I told him everything that had happened and asked him his opinion. I also told him not to tell anyone about Jacket Holder, as that might then get back to my wife, which I didn't want at this point. I would deal with him later. By that I mean I'll expose what a little rat he is. Knocking fuck out of him doesn't help me at all as of now. As an aside to the people saying he done nothing wrong, He messaged my wife first. He was being extremely flirty. What the fuck is he even playing at messaging my wife for? In the first place, he only knows her in passing, from afar. Look, I've got no problem with two adults conversing with each other, but they hardly knew each other and it was flirty from the start, as far as I could tell. I think they've seen each other while out and about and it's gotten flirty then. So my friend convinced me to try and keep a low profile, and see what I could dig up, but at the same time speak to a lawyer and get the ball rolling in terms of finding out my options, which I have done today. He took me home about 6 o'clock and I was honestly dead on my feet by that point. I think the adrenaline pumping the entire day then suddenly stopping knocks it right out of you, so I was extremely tired when I got home. The second I walked through the door I knew something was up, as my wife was on me right away asking me all sorts of questions about work. I asked her why does she even care. She said that I'd left my big flask and my lunch bag in the front passenger side seat and something's been up today. She could feel it. I was about to lie, but I was just too tired. I couldn't be bothered putting any sort of charade up, so I just said yeah, there is something up. That when I was putting her drunk arse to bed last night a message came up on her watch, which I read, and all the other ones, and that she was a fucking disgusting cheat that I wanted nothing more to do with. Her demeanor went from an arms-crossed person in power to scared little girl within about a second. Good at keeping secrets, eh? Begging that little rat for sex, eh? Yep, read it all. She started sobbing and I just walked away and upstairs into the shower. When I got out, she was sitting on the top stair crying still, and the excuses started right away. How she was drunk, vulnerable, had never done anything like that before. How he had messaged her first and it didn't mean anything. She was never gonna go through with it. Pretty much everything that everyone on here was saying she would say, like she had the playbook out. The only thing she didn't do was try and blame me. She probably knew I would have thrown her right out the door if she had tried that shit. I told her that I wanted a divorce and her out of the house within a month. Also told her that she was moving to the spare room. I've been pretty much ignoring her ever since, just scowling at her and shaking my head when she starts waffling nonsense. I don't want to hear it. She slept in the spare room last night and I haven't spoken to or texted with her at all today. If I'm lucky, maybe she'll be gone when I get back from work, but my luck's not that good, I suppose. On getting her out though, I was telling my parents what was happening and my mother was adamant I wasn't throwing her out onto the streets. Her and my mother are close and always have been. We'd have been together 11 years in December. My mother was saying she made a mistake and that we should sort it out like adults, that we've been through too much together and that she didn't actually do anything, it was just words. She completely took her side over mine. Couldn't believe it. Could this fuck me here? Like, do I have no right to ask her to leave if my mother is against it? It's literally gonna be my house when my parents pass and I did nothing wrong, so I'm not leaving. It's probably gonna turn into War of the Roses. I managed to get myself an appointment with a divorce lawyer for next week, so I'll be going to that to discuss my options. Until then, I'm just gonna ignore my soon-to-be ex-wife, I guess. I know she's probably not gonna admit anything else now. I'll never know if she was a really good liar or she was just talking shit to him to get him on side with her for an affair. I am Majid 2006. Thank you for watching the video till the end. Now, if you want to be successful in romantic relationships and know more, subscribe to my channel. I made many tutorials for you. I will kiss you, my dear.